This is Andy 2. In this video I'm going to show you how to set the height on the needle bar on, oh no, this Singer Model 301A. After I show you how to set the height, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace the needle bar if you ever need to do that. But most inquiries I get are about the height of the needle bar. And I'll show you how to check it and then show you how to set it. To check the height, you want to turn the hand wheel towards the front of the machine and position the needle bar in the lowest point. Now you can look down here at the the needle holder, if you like. I usually watch this spot right here, which is the needle bar connecting link, and the set screw that holds the needle bar in position. I watch for that to hit the lowest point, and you can wiggle it back and forth. I have the motor out, but even with the motor in, these tiny movements won't hurt the motor if you go backwards a little bit. So you just want to bottom it out. Make sure that this or your needle holder is at the lowest point. Now on the Singer needle bar here, there's two rings or marks cut in all the way around the needle bar. And they appear to you as black, usually, because there's a little bit of grit and oil in there. But they're actually etched right into the needle bar. And I'm going to show you a slide, a little better close-up picture to show you these two. The top mark is called the height mark because it's used for setting the height of the needle bar. The bottom mark is called the timing mark because it's used to help you when you set the timing of the hook to the needle point. An easy way to remember that is the top or higher one sets the height of the needle bar, and the lower mark helps you set the timing, which is lower than or below the needle bar. So take a look at this slide. Okay, so when you have this in the lowest position, you need to look right down here at the very bottom of what's called the needle bar bushing. This bushing is screwed into the machine, and the needle bar passes up and down through it, and that keeps it reinforced and keeps it at the right slant, and just as a guide for it. And then the top height mark, or the top mark, should just be visible below the bottom of that bushing. And Singer says it should be parallel with the bottom of the bushing. But in all of their manuals and stuff, you can visibly see that top mark. So it should be very close up against the bottom of the bushing, but you should still be able to see it. Otherwise, if you can't see it, how do you know how far it's in there? So let me show you a slide of this. I can't get closer than this with my video camera, so take a look at the slide to see what I'm talking about. Okay, that should give you a pretty clear idea of how to check the height and where it should be set of the needle bar. And if it's not, and you want to change it, what you need to do is loosen this set screw that clamps, holds the clamp around the needle bar. It's connected to the needle bar connecting link back to the take-up lever. That's what, you know, rotates and helps the needle go up and down, or makes the needle go up and down. So when you want to adjust the height, you need to loosen this set screw. I was looking at this set screw on Oh No, and oh no, it's been damaged. And that's usually from people using a poorly fitting screwdriver. So I tried to find a tip on my Chapman hollow ground point that's a nice fit for it. And we'll just go in, and it's lefty loosey. There we go. I'll give it about a turn and see if I can, yeah, you can see the needle bar is loosened there now. So I'm going to rotate this back down, make sure that that connecting link is down at the lowest point it's going to go. And now I can maneuver the needle bar so that that top height mark on it is just barely below the bushing. Now some people like to do this with the machine sitting up on its hand wheel. So putting down like a towel and setting the machine on the end with the hand wheel down, so that they're looking down into here, and they can see this mark much better. And that's fine. I've done it that way too. And I just, this was about the best position I could do to show you. So when you get that mark just below the bushing, you're good on height. But you need to also remember that you need to position the needle bar so that the thumb screw and everything is parallel with the front edge of the machine. Because if you don't want it twisted one way or the other, because when you thread your needle and you're sewing and the thread makes a loop, it may be out of place, that loop, and the hook would miss it. So you need to, besides the height, you need to line up this needle bar and the needle holder so that it's parallel with the machine. And looking at this screw can help, and looking from the end to see the position of the thumb screw. You got to kind of remember it's at this slant. It is a slant needle. And I don't know of any gauge or anything. You just have to kind of eyeball it to line it up. So you've got two things to check. Now see, I move this down a little bit. I've got to move it back up, and I've got to line it back up. And that looks pretty good. Once you have the height and the positioning set, you just go right back here to this set screw on the needle bar clamp and turn it right to tight and nice and firm, because it moves with every stitch you make, you know. Okay, So that is setting, checking, and setting the height. Now let me show you how to remove the needle bar. Removing the needle bar is not difficult. For me, the worst part of it is these little fiddly pieces down here. There's the needle clamp, what I call the needle holder or needle clamp body, and in there's a positioning screw, the screw you see in the front. There's the needle clamp thumb screw that you use to tighten against the needle when the needle's installed in there. And this 301 is a little different. Like if you saw my 404, 403, 500s, like that, because up kind of inside the needle clamp body is a needle clamp jib and thread guard. This little thread guard here that you run the thread through on the way down to the needle, that's built up inside this needle clamp body. Now it's easy to disassemble, but the fiddly part comes when you put it back together. But let's go ahead and let's go ahead and take it out here. We're going to go right up there again, and we're going to loosen. We're going to loosen that screw on the clamp there, and we can wiggle this down, and I'm going to hold the needle bar now while I turn the hand wheel so I can slip it out of that clamp of the needle bar connecting link. See that? Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to take off these parts here. I'm going to loosen that positioning screw, and it's just a real shallow set screw. You know what? I'll take some close-ups of these parts and show you. Now with that out, I'm going to remove the needle clamp thumb screw. You have to take the needle bar up out the top, so that's why you have to take these little fiddly parts off of here. It's taking too long. Just let me do this. I'm sure you can figure out how to take out the thumb screw. Now these could be really sticky in here because of the oil that's accumulated inside there over the years, so don't be surprised, but they should just wiggle and just pull straight off the bottom. Okay, and then the jib will, that's pretty bright, let's see if you can, the jib will slip out. So there's the body. And the odd little jib. I'm glad they did away with this when they went to the 400 series. And a little shallow positioning screw. And then the needle bar is going to come right up out of the top of the bushing. It's just going to slide right up. And this is usually full of gunk. So that's why you might want to do this. You may have a bent needle bar and you may need to replace it, but you might want to just pull it out occasionally to clean all the gunk off of it. And to clean out the bushing, you can put Q-tips with alcohol or crud cutter or your favorite cleaner in there and swab it out. If you have a small bottle type brush, to run through there, because thread lint and oil and dust do accumulate in there. And of course, the cleaner and smoother your needle bar, the better the operation. So let me show you these parts, pictures, so I can get a lot closer for you, and then I'll show you how I try to get it back together. Okay. When you're ready to replace the needle bar back into the machine, you can be aware the cutout on one, whoops, but I got a needle stuck to there. The cutout on one side of the needle bar, this is for the jib and the thumb screw, and on the opposite side you'll see a couple little holes. The bottom one, the hole is in a flat spot, and that's for the positioning screw, and that faces the end of the machine. So the way I'm standing on the end and looking at the nose, it would be facing me, and the cutout part would be to the back where the thumb screw goes into it back here. And we need to drop it through that clamp on the take-up lever system, the needle bar connecting link. And that clamp on the link, the screw goes on the right, so we just need to drop it through there first, get it into there. And if you need to reposition the hand wheel or anything to line this up better, go right ahead. You can usually kind of move it around just with your fingers here, but with that hole in the flat spot facing the end there, you can just slide this down in here. Come on, you. Oh, there we go. If I got the screw, no, it's plenty loose. I just cleaned it up and I haven't oiled it, so maybe that's why it's a little sticky. There we go. Now we're going down in there. That's what we want. Okay, and don't worry about the height of the needle bar yet, because we've got to get the needle clamp and all those little parts on there first. Now I'm going to snug this just a little bit, but I want to leave it loose enough that putting these other parts on, if I want to turn the needle bar or something, it's readily able to do that. Then I take the body of the needle clamp and I'm just going to put the thumb screw in a few turns, because I find that helps me hang on to the needle clamp. It's so small and slippery to me. And the way to put this on, the correct side up, is when you look at one side of the body, there's a flat spot here on the side, and if you turn it over and look at the other side, it's just like a nice oval. But the side that you want to face the front of the machine and face you when you're sewing, you can see that about 1/3 of the oval has been flattened out here. and that's the side that you would want facing. And then this flat spot is for the position screw when it goes in the hole. So we're going to slip that with the thumb screw facing towards the hand wheel, and the screw hole will be facing the needle bar end of the machine. And I've got a close-up slide for you to look at the flat spot and this flat spot on the needle bar. We'll take a look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to slide that back off now that you know how to put it on, and I'm going to turn this needle bar because I want to talk a little more about this cutout area, and I think I see some lint or something in there. No, that's just a piece of the metal in there. So the trickiest part is this little jib with the thread guard all in one piece. It's like a cylinder, like a little keg with a pin sticking up the top and the thread guard coming out the bottom. And that's made to fit into this cutout area of the so that jib is made to fit into the cutout area of the needle bar. That little cylinder will sit up in there, but you can't put it in there and then put the thread guard on. And even if you have the thread the thread guard, you can't put it in there and then put the needle clamp over it. And you can't have the needle clamp on, put in the jib and slide it down. It just doesn't fit that way. So I've developed a little method of doing this that kind of works well, it works the best for me. It's the best I've been able to find with working on these. And I want to reposition the camera maybe a little bit so that my fingers won't block you. I want to raise it up. Let me do that. Hopefully this will give you a little better angle of it. So the way I've done it is I position the needle bar pretty much how it's going to be permanently on the machine, with the hole in the flat spot facing this end towards me, and I grip the jib here by the thread guard with a pair of needle nose, and when you hold it like this, there's a cutout on this end of the jib, and that's where the rounded side of the needle would go in. And then when you tighten that thumb screw, the thumb screw pushes on the back side of the jib and pushes it towards the needle and towards the needle bar into it. And that's what actually clamps onto your needle. So once I've got this and I might even try and angle that a little bit more, and I'm going to slide my needle clamp on first with the flat spot facing the sewer, or what I would call the front of the machine, and just kind of get it up there. And I'm going to get this in position with that pin up. Up. It's very fiddly here, isn't it? And what has to happen, yeah, it's so tricky, is I've got to slide the needle clamp down way towards the end bottom of the needle bar, and I've got to try and get that jib started up. It's got to be kind of up inside the needle clamp. Maybe I should have tightened that needle bar more. And I've got to kind of slide it on all at the same time. So I've tried putting the jib in the clamp and sliding both on at the same time, and it just hasn't seemed to work well for me. So by holding the tip of the thread guard kind of at a 60-degree angle like that, and having the clamp on there and sliding the clamp almost off and pushing up on that jib, the jib seems to go inside the clamp, and then as I raise them both, the jib falls into the cutout on the bottom of the needle bar. Then when I've got it in position, I need to start my set screw in there to hold it, because if I let anything go right now, it's kind of a goner. It all slips apart. And so I'm going to try this little screw holding screwdriver my friend Harlan sent me that uses kind of a split tip to hold the screw. Wow, that's cool. I like it already. I haven't even used it. And I'm going to use that to try and gently get that positioning set screw into that hole on the flat spot of the needle bar. And once I get it in there, I'll take this. That worked great, Harlan. Thank you. That is a way cool tool. Once I get it in there, I'm going to use my regular screwdriver to tighten that up. So now everything is kind of floppy here. I can put my thumb screw in more, but you notice that this thread guard is loose until you put a needle up in there and tighten everything up. But I have all these needle clamp and the thread guard and the jib inside and everything all reassembled firmly onto the needle bar. So now I can set the height, which I already learned how to do. I'm going to rotate the hand wheel and get this get that clamp and screw at the low spot, and then I'm going to maneuver the needle bar up and down, and I see that I get up a little. Yep, can just barely see that height mark, the band now. And then I need to line up the needle clamp this way so it's parallel with the edge of the machine or the edge of the needle plate. I don't want it twisted. Got it all in there, and then I will secure with a regular screwdriver. Let me check it. Go to the low spot. Take a look up here. Bend way down here and see. I can see that right up there against the top mark up against the very bottom of the bushing, so I am good. Now if you saw other videos, I talked about the presser bar, setting the height, taking it in and out. There is one little test whenever you work on either one of these or both. And what you want is to raise the presser bar with a foot on here, and with it up, you want to lower the needle to the lowest point it will go, and you need to make sure that they don't touch. You want a little space there between the ankle of the foot and the bottom corner of the needle clamp. Those two shouldn't hit when the foot's up and the needle's down all the way. They shouldn't hit. And even if you can just pass a piece of paper between them, you're good. That's a little test you do whenever you adjust the height of either one of the bars. So that's it, folks. That's setting the height, checking and setting the height on the needle bar, removing the needle bar for cleaning or repair, and then replacing the needle bar and all the parts back in there, setting the height again. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that was worth your time. Maybe you picked up something you didn't know before. Then please come back and see me on AndyTube again. Take care now.